the whole objective of having a Mitti Cafe is to take this movement to every household in the world. But what we feel is that people with intellectual disabilities, they may be slow, but they are perfectionists at whatever they do. They think from here, they say from here and they do from here. They don't understand anything other than that. It's something which the world needs to try. One of my favorite poets says, मेरे सीने में नहीं तो तेरे सीने में सही हो कहीं भी आग लेकिन आग जलनी चाहिए, which means we'll all die someday. But irrespective of whether we live or die, that ignition has to continue in someone's heart. Do that one bit for that one person. Inspire just that one more person to join wagon, and the world will change for what it should be, and the magic to do that lies in each one. And that's what we innately believe at Mitti Cafe. There are millions out there who would never be able to probably go to school because of their gender, millions who are kept in a lockdown for an entire lifetime because of their disabilities, and here we are at a point of privilege, so it is a debt that we have. Life is about repaying that. That's what life's all about.
Every once in a while, a story emerges that reminds us what humanity is truly capable of. Today, we step into the extraordinary journey of Alina Alam, the visionary founder of Mitti Cafe, social enterprise that empowers adults with physical, intellectual, and psychiatric disabilities through dignified employment, skill building, and purpose. From starting with almost nothing to building a movement that has impacted millions, fed thousands of frontline workers during the pandemic, and reshaped how India views inclusion. Alina's journey is not just inspiring, it is transformational.
Hi, welcome to Expressions. Today I'm joined by Alina Alam. Thank you so much for joining me today, Alina.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm going to start by talking about your parents. You speak a lot about their influence. So what was a lesson from your childhood in Kolkata that it didn't feel important then, but makes perfect sense now as the founder of Mitti Cafe?
You know, we all glorify social work कि अच्छा करेंगे and charity करेंगे and we'll feel very good about it. I'd say that, you know, if we just replace social work with the word social duty, we see the world very differently. And it comes from the fact that today we're here at a point of privilege, right? There are millions out there who would never be able to probably go to school because of their gender, millions out there who would never be able to see daylight from the wombs because of their gender, millions who are kept in a lockdown for an entire lifetime because of their disabilities. And here we are at a point of privilege. So it is a debt that we have, udhar. And life is about repaying that. Maybe our life goes and we're not able to repay that ever. But jitna kar sake, I think that's what life's all about. And that thought was ingrained much into me and my siblings as we were growing up. While growing up, we didn't have like a lot of money in the family. Fortunately so, because we learned to appreciate the other important things in life. So there were festivals. So Eid is like a very happening festival for us. And what do children want? They want nice food to eat and glittering attires. And there were Eids when we didn't have glittering attires, like we didn't have new clothes. But as siblings, we've grown up seeing our parents normally indulge in acts of kindness that made a lot of sense to us as a family then. So we didn't, and despite not having a lot, we were still happy. So I think we learned to appreciate that, and
the small things.
Yeah, the small things, the importance of doing, not because not because it's like doing a charity or anyone else, but it is for yourself. And I think that's still ingrained in me and my siblings, and one of the reasons why I decided to do this.
You say your grandmother's disability never defined her, but it was her abilities that you saw. So when you think of your grandmother, what's one activity that you both enjoyed together that really shaped the way you see inclusion?
I think my favorite thing to discuss. So I was 2.5. That was when my mother, she fell very unwell, and that's when she had my brother. and she couldn't take care of both. So I am a mother to two children, almost the age difference as me and my brother. Then I was just like, my brother was just born and I was 2.5, and that's when my grandmother took over, and she was the one who brought me up since I was 2.5 years old. And I think if I've loved one person the most in this world, then that kind of love I don't think can be replicated ever. The purest form of love. It's her. I used to call her Amma. She had a disability. What I knew was that Amma required support in walking. When we would go out, she would require a wheelchair. She loved this color. She loved to cook this. She was so kind. She was so loving. She was the most beautiful person that I've ever come across. So many other aspects to her, right? And it is only later that I came to know, acha, this physiological phenomena that she had was a disability. But when I went out into the world, it was so confusing as to how a person's disability and disability alone can define the jobs they find, the friends they have, the love they find. How can a person's disability define their entire identity? And it just could never ever connect. And which is why again there was a trigger point at university which led me to start this. But I think I've always been passionate about disability inclusion because I've grown up to love someone who was so much beyond her disabilities, and that's what I feel is the case with everyone. The problem is not that we have over 70 million people with disabilities in our country or over 1 billion people with disabilities across the world. That statistics is not the problem. The problem is a larger statistics, which is honestly the disability in our perceptions, the perceptions of the community that stops us from seeing the magic in their abilities. And I wanted to challenge and change just that.
When you started your first NGO, you were 18 years old. Did it create a ripple around you, and did you inspire friends around to step up too?
Y'all have done like a lot of homework. I didn't know that y'all would know that, but yes, prior to Mitti, I had started, so 2 other organizations that I had started, and I volunteer with them today. One was when I was pursuing my bachelor's in Bombay, called Student Social Reform Initiative, and the other one which I led was Pehel. And the focus of both these organizations were to tap into the incredible potential of people to do something good that could have some measurable social impact. And it's very simple. Everybody has the ability to do good because people innately have compassion and courage. It's just about tapping into that. So while I started these organizations, I think a few things that I realized pretty early, that helped me later is that it is, we often glorify the idea that idea has to be unique and it has to be incredible, something that nobody has done. I don't think any idea in this world is something that nobody else has thought about. Like, we're talking about like so many people in this world, and there's always someone who's more brilliant than you are, who must have already thought of what you're thinking. But it is 1% the idea, 99% implementation for success. Second, kidney ka chamda is very important in your journey, like a rhino skin. Third, I think the power of the community. I realized that pretty early on to really be able to grow exponentially. And that's something that I also applied to, Mitti as I started Mitti.
And what does compassionate leadership look like in everyday life for a young student or teenager? Like you just mentioned. So can you give us an example or something?
So, I started I also started Mitti while I was in college and final semester. And I think to answer your question, I'd also speak about the trigger point that initiated me to do that as, a 22-year-old who was in that classroom waiting for placements that Abhito will get onto a job, will earn some good money, send some money back home, and with the rest party. That was the aim of this college student, like ki bahut padhai ho gaya, enough of studies now, like but God had other plans. He always has other plans. And in my final semester, I got to watch this one documentary that was life-changing. And this was, I think everybody should watch it. It was on the yeah, it was on the Vidarbha Farmer Suicides by P. Sainath, and where I get to meet Nero. Where Nero was an emperor in the ancient Roman Empire. He was mighty rich. He would win one war after the other and the other. And one day he was the biggest battle of his life. And when you win, you party, you celebrate, and that's what he decided to do. And he invited the who's who of Tinseltown, kings and queens, princes and princesses from 7 kingdoms. And as evening befell, he said, "We need some lights to make the party happening and rocking." So he decided to burn kachada waste to generate light. And at that point of time, he decided to burn the prisoners of war and the poor people who were captured, who he considered not more than waste. And sitting in that classroom, that 22-year-old student kind of grew up, because what I realized, while my other friends walked out, I was there for the next 3 hours contemplating as to what just happened to me. What did I see? It was just too intense for me to absorb all of that. But I think one very simple thing came to light then, that the problem was not Nero at all. The problem was not him, because you could equate Nero with atrocities, injustice, discrimination, all the not so nice things that exist in this world that will always exist. But the problem was Nero's guests, something that we see in the world even today, as to how thousands of people who came as guests, they were singing, dancing, drinking, when fellow human beings suffered, asked for help, died. And I realized at that point of time that I was one of Nero's guests. That is, if you feel something about anything and if you're not willing to take action, then you've taken a side, and unfortunately that side is that of the oppressor. And I decided that I can't continue to be one of Nero's guests, again, did not sit for college placements then, thankfully. Started volunteering with organizations, which I think every person who is wanting to explore some side to themselves, and if there are so many things that one can do and contribute to the society, and that can also be sustainable, scalable. But I think for me, the volunteership was very, very useful when I started volunteering with these organizations that work in the disability inclusion space. And I encourage anyone who wants to start to volunteer with someone. And which is when I realized that, the problem is not that child's belief that the problem was not Amma, the problem was not my grandmother and her disability. Like, it was our perception. And, so I'm a mother to 2 kids. And generally when we conceive, we say that healthy bacha chahiye. What does healthy bacha mean? Without a disability, right? But the problem is not that there are, over 1 billion people with disabilities across the world and over 7 crore people with disabilities in India. Problem is, like we just discussed, that the largest statistics, which is the disability and the perceptions of the community, that stops us from seeing the magic in their abilities. And I wanted to challenge and change that.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's really nice to hear about the Emperor Nero thing, which I didn't know about, and I'm glad you felt so strongly about it. Can you tell us a story that brought you to this specific career path? I mean, is there anything behind this, and how did you develop the concept of Mitti Cafe, and why did you choose the name?
So I did speak about, of course, it was because I was brought up by somebody who had a disability, but she was a million other things. The trigger point was definitely, I can't wait anymore, was that documentary that, called Nero's Guests, that everybody should 100% watch. But also, I think, while I started my journey, I started Mitti with zero startup capital. So a lot of entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, we feel that, how do they start? When do they start? And, what if you don't have anything? And I think that was exactly from where we start. I started Mitti's journey. I had zero startup capital, multiple rejections. I did not even know what CapEx and OpEx means. And, at that point of time, I think one thing that I realized very early on, actually a couple of things, but in retrospect, I think one thing that really stands out is, I think scarcity did the best. It was the best thing that I could have at that point of time. Because see, scarcity leads to creativity.
Yeah.
When you have nothing to lose also. So creativity, leech-like attitude,
Yeah.
shamelessness,
Yeah.
desperation. So
Yeah.
if anybody tells you don't be a despo in life, I would say please be a despo in life. And I was all of that. I was
Very
Mitti
nice.
as an idea was rejected at every incubation center. Incubation centers are basically these organizations that see that you survive through the initial years. So Mitti as an idea was rejected everywhere. So which is when I shifted to Hubli in North Karnataka, because Deshpande Foundation, again, lovely organization, they said that money is something that they can't give. Networks they will see, but what they can give is what I might need. And I said, what? And they said that they have go down with a disclaimer that it's full of generations of rats. Would you want to make that into your first cafe? And I shifted Boria Bistar and I went to Hubli, which is in North Karnataka, much to the scare and dismay of my parents
Yeah.
in Calcutta, because they were hoping that I would come back after so many years. So, and when I went there, as I mentioned, I didn't have money. So what did I do? I went from door to door, house to house, shop to shop, asking the community to join the movement of inclusion, because the movement of inclusion doesn't belong to just one person. It can never, right? Inclusion is something that affects everyone, and everyone has the potential to participate in that movement. So when I went from door to door, shop to shop, asking people to join this movement, I didn't ask them for money. I said, let's set up the first cafe together. So 90% of our equipments, right from the spoon, second-hand oven, second-hand fridge, tissue papers, were all donated by people I didn't know, by absolute strangers, by the community. The vegetable vendors came to know that I didn't even go to them, and they came to know that there's this mad girl, going from shop to shop, house to house, doing this, and they got vegetable baskets that turned into our lampshades. So our first cafe kitchen was that dilapidated tin shed, which the student community, I promised them samosa chai once we started making money, and they helped me clean it. So we did it together. The community helped me set up my first cafe. Our first cafe was basically the kitchen was that tin shed. The front arch, and I still have that picture, very close to me, was this table and an umbrella. Tea labeled as tea, like I cut out this paper from an exercise book, cellotape also borrowed from someone, and then stuck on that tea flask. So that is where and open air. So that was our first cafe. And since then, by God's grace and with the incredible power of the community, Mitti is a community-driven model. Honestly, I just started it. Everything else has worked out because of the compassion and courage that I keep mentioning exists within people. From that small table and an umbrella, today we are the world's largest chain of cafes to be completely managed by adults with physical, intellectual, and psychiatric disabilities.
And we're all and 56 plus, which is amazing. actually.
72.
It's amazing. Thank you for sharing. So at Mitti Cafe, you've made the inclusion of people with special needs in the workplace your main objective, right? But what are the challenges of including people with cognitive disabilities in the workplace, and why are the figures of inclusion so bad in our country?
The answer to that is the disability in people's perceptions. I'll cite a couple of So we have adults with physical, intellectual, and psychiatric disabilities who are working with us. So while we run Mitti Cafes, we believe that, right now we're at 72. Tomorrow we'll be 100. We'll probably be able to deploy 1,000 people with disabilities, train 50,000. Do we move the needle? No. Like we talk about 7 crore people with disabilities only in India. So the whole objective of having a Mitti Cafe is definitely not to, or the objective is not to just expand cafes. The objective is to take this movement to every household in the world.
Yeah.
Because everyone, we feel, can contribute to inclusion, is a change maker by themselves. And it's just about making them believe in that. And Mitti is about the sensitization that we create through every meal or beverage that we serve. For us, today we have persons with physical disabilities. I mentioned we have people with intellectual and psychiatric disabilities, and not all disabilities are visible, right? But what we feel is that people with intellectual disabilities, they may be slow, but they are perfectionists at whatever they do. And the best thing about people with intellectual disabilities, they think from here, they say from here, and they do from here. They don't understand anything other than that, and something which the world needs to thrive and develop. I mean, when we talk about development, we talk about GDP. I mean, people fall sick, hospitals make money, GDP will rise. I mean, and like there's a difference between growth and development, right? Growth can be cancerous. Some people grow, your GDP will rise, but development, the only form of development that can exist is inclusive. When you take together everyone. So for in our case, one of our team members with intellectual disabilities, Hemant, he's got cerebral palsy and autism. At the peak of COVID, he comes and he tells us, Didi, log bhukhe hai. There are people who are hungry and hame khana banana aata hai. And look at this boy's vision. So we always say 100 meals, 1,000 meals, maybe a million meals. Always associate a number to the impact. This boy says, अगर हम खाना बनाएंगे कोई भूखा नहीं रहेगा. And actually believed in that. This was at the peak of COVID. We started with a few hundred meals. When we were looking at survival, this guy was looking at another vertical for Mitti Cafe. And we took on to Hemant's vision, and it gives me immense pride to say that our team members with disabilities have today served over 80 lakh meals to the economically vulnerable. We continue to do that, and now this mission goes much beyond anything, where those who feel they can't come to a Mitti Cafe, we want to prove them wrong. Mitti Cafe belongs to everyone in the community. Mitti Cafe goes to them. Our team members with disabilities, they go into communities in distress and provide these delicious meals to them. So changes the paradigm, right? That persons with disabilities, given the right kind of support, can not just support themselves, but the nation in need. And we need more examples, more role models like Hemant. And, they exist. It's just about sensitizing people, creating that awareness, and people by themselves would be, capable enough to change their mindsets. And, we've seen that happening over and over again.
Simple acceptance, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. Is there any training or supervision of for this that happens exactly? Any flexible work arrangements? Would you like to throw some light on?
Yeah. We do have our experiential training program at Mitti. So, for example, our model works in a way that if we have a Mitti Cafe, while there are X number of people who are employed, we always have additional number of people who are trained year on year, and they are either placed at a future Mitti Cafe, and a majority of them are placed with other organizations. So we have hotels hiring from us, we have F&B players hiring from us, we have retail players hiring from us, we have airports hiring from us. So as a mission, wherever we go, that's just the germinating seed. We ensure that other competing vendors also hire. And the host entity that gets us in, whether it's the airport or the wonderful corporates that we're working with, they also hire additional people with disabilities today. At the Supreme Court of India, so Mitti is currently present inside the Supreme Court and the Rashtrapati Bhavan. We've seen additional hiring there as well. And, again, being at places like the Supreme Court with, with judges having the power to pass the kind of judgments that could, change the lives of so many people. I think our team members with disabilities there have done their
Great
part.
pride, yeah.
They've done their part, and they are our change makers in the forefront.
Yeah.
Honestly, I go to Mitti Cafe to eat. Rest of the amazing work is done by the incredible team on the field.
And did this journey push you to learn things like sign language, new ways of communicating? Something would you like to share?
Absolutely. So, usually we have a misconception that verbal communication is the only way to communicate. I mean, we are in this country with such diverse cultures, so many languages. I refuse to believe that, if I'm in Karnataka or if I'm in Telangana or any other place, I wouldn't be able to communicate with someone only because I don't know their language. Of course, there is always a potential to learn. So, like, I think basics can brighten up anybody's day. So, if you're in Telangana and Miru Bagunara, so I think it's the little initiatives that matter a lot. Also, when you talk about sign language, that is also like, a language that is used by so many people.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
something that everybody should learn. In fact, I walked into one of our cafes the other day, and I look at this customer, and he's actually, he's interacting with Shiv Leela. She's one of our candidates with hearing and speech impairment, and she rips up the best charts ever. So he's like this, and he's constantly doing this and this, and I was just standing. I didn't want to interrupt them, and then later I asked our cashier Honappa that what was just happening, because Shiv Leela was super busy, so I didn't want to disturb her. And he's like, oh, as if like, oh, this. So the customer was saying he wants less onion. You can understand. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, which is so, I mean, if one wants to communicate,
Yeah.
it is just about the intention
Yeah.
and the possibilities are immense.
Yeah. And what biases narratives still exist that continue leaving people with a disability without these opportunities? And what can we do to shift these narratives so that more companies recognize the talent and untapped potential of in this community?
Usually people think that if it is a person with disability, and I'm not saying that they are bad people to think that way.
Yeah, yeah.
It is important to create that awareness, and that's why we exist. So you may have a question that if there's somebody with a hearing and speech impairment, how would we be able to communicate? If there's somebody with an intellectual disability, would they get angry very often?
Yeah.
Would there be panic attacks? Would there be anxiety attacks? Or if it's a person with without limbs, what will that person do? Or if it's a person on a wheelchair, or if it's a person with multiple sclerosis, they may they don't even have control over their bowel movement. So how would they work? How would we work with them? And there are answers to all of these, right? And demonstrable examples that we have at Mitti Cafes, where while our first employee, she came in crawling for the interview because at that point of time she couldn't afford a wheelchair. Her hand would shake, and if you would even give her like a cup of coffee, her hands would shake and it would fall. Today, a lot of things biology cannot explain. Today she sits on her wheelchair that she bought with her own salary and manages 10 other people with disability. She's the manager for our first cafe. Her name is Kirti. Another incredible example that I can think of is Bhairappa. So Bhairappa had dwarfism, motor disability, and mild intellectual disability. And so when he came in, we came to know that he was rejected at 80 plus jobs. It is post then that we got lucky with him. When he came in, he did not know the concept of wearing slippers or even brushing his teeth. Today, Bhairappa, if you go to the Bangalore International Airport, do say a hi to him. So he is currently the team lead. And this boy has never gone to school, but he's been with us for 8 years. Today, he's the team lead at Bangalore International Airport. And he told me something very painful one day. He tells me that in his village, when he was born, his mother passed away. And he was this baby, Bhairappa, was labeled as a child of ill omen. The reason for his mother passing away. Imagine, like, I have my own children. Imagine, like, how needy a child is, and mother passes away. And he further tells me that and he was 32 years something when he told me this. He said that his entire village labeled him as a child of ill omen and would not let their children play with him. So he didn't have a single friend all his life. Imagine at 32, this boy is telling me this. It was so painful. Fast forward, now this guy, he has a job. He's now the team lead. He's made like a 3-story building in his village, and all the villagers, along with their children, now grown up, come to see his mansion in the village. But he was told something even more painful. He was told that because of your disability, Bhairappa, you will never find anybody to love you. And love is something that we all need, right?
Yeah.
And then Rupa happened, and he met Rupa. So Bhairappa was then working at Mitti Cafe Infosys, and Rupa was working at Mitti Cafe Wipro. So when I met up with Mr. Premji for one of their GECs where we presented our idea, I mentioned to him that it was an Infosys Wipro love story. So love has no boundaries, disability being minuscule. And in Mitti Cafe, we have many love stories like that.
Wonderful. So there also remains a lot of cultural stereotype among these people, okay?
Yeah.
When it comes to conversation on disability, what are some of the stereotypes that you actually feel are more just myths?
Yeah, I mean, so there are so many stereotypes that exist, when you talk about anyone with a disability. And that, so generally when we say a person, so disability is not just a physiological phenomena, right? Or not just about the person. It is how the environment interacts with that person and the perceptions about, what people have about that person, what that person can do, can't do.
Yeah.
And, there are so many stereotypes that if it is a person with, certain type of disability, it will be very difficult to work with them. So now
Yeah.
even today, when we talk to employers, of course, it's different when there is an existing Mitti Cafe and when they see that, there is somebody, without limbs who's doing exceptionally well. There is someone with paraplegia, quadriplegia, Down syndrome, autism. They're doing so well. But, there are a lot of times when employers still tell us that, we will hire people, but don't give us anyone with very severe disability. Maybe hearing and speech impairment maximum, which is great. They want to hire HSI candidates, but the perception that people have that, if you have a disability which is slightly severe, you are good for nothing, it is absolutely nonsense. For us, we've seen the underdogs outperforming so many times. Sabiha, she's got multiple sclerosis, very severe disability, no control over her hands or her legs. So when she came in, we tried to put her in the kitchen. It became flop show. It didn't work out. Then we realized that this girl has got the gift of the gab, which means that if you come in for a 10 rupees chai, she will talk you out of 50 rupees combo meal and you will not even realize. And now this Sabiha, she has become bada admi. She's left Mitti Cafe. She started her own grocery shop. She's deployed a person with Down syndrome, and now her atta chawal comes from her shop.
Wow.
So I think possibilities are immense. And like Dherappa, a Sabiha was also rejected at so many places. A Kirti, for her, it's her first livelihood opportunity. Just the other day, I was looking at a picture of ours, our inauguration at Mumbai International Airport, and our entire team came on stage. It was like a 30-feet stage that was created by the airport for us for the inauguration. And it was such a happy picture. And, suddenly, I think the happiness for a few seconds, it just went, because when I looked at that picture, there were about 40 people in that frame. And for each one of them, it's their first livelihood opportunity. I mean, that was something that was common in each one of them. And then you question how. Caroline, she can't hear and speak. She got cerebral palsy and autism. She's today our assistant manager at Mumbai International Airport. Meet her. She's been a disability rights activist for 2 decades, yet it's her first job. Chandrakant, today, he's also found the love of his life. Recently, he got married. Again, our manager here at our cafe at Terminal 1, Bangalore International Airport, his first job. And yet these people, such assets to the country, and find it difficult to find a job because people think that they can't do. And that's the perception that needs to change.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. You're doing a great job there. Do you think society gets confused between sympathy and empathy? From your experience, which one truly helps and which one actually harms?
For the longest time, what we've seen is that, persons with disabilities, they've been kept in the back. So there are organizations that I'd say who've been doing incredible work. I was inspired by such organizations when I started my journey volunteering with them, and they're doing fantastic work. But for the longest time, persons with disabilities have been kept in the background. So when I started Mitti, I got to interact with a mentor of mine and who's done fantastic work in the disability inclusion space for 3 decades. And this was a time when Mitti had just started. So, one would look up to that person, right? And, I went to him for advice and, sir, how do I take this forward? Any mentee would do. And there's an advice that he gave me. So he said that, Aleena, for your first cafe, take in people who are presentable, who look good. And I was stumped and I kept asking him questions. What does it mean by looking good? What does it mean by presentable? And I was shocked. And I'm so glad that I didn't listen to him then. Often your heart is, I think, more intelligent than your head. Head was saying, my God, such an experienced person. Maybe, the way I think of the world is different, wrong. Heart saying, what nonsense is this? And glad I did. Our first employee was someone who probably, if he would have been sitting on the other side, I don't think Kirti would have been our first employee. But she's the most incredible lady that, we've met. And I don't think Mitti's story would have been Mitti's story if not for Kirti. And that's exactly, what we replicate through our cafes. And it is these stories of inclusion that make Mitti what it is, whether it is Kirti's, whether it is Lakshmi, single mother of 2 children, only earning member of her family. She can't hear or speak. Her husband left her. And, one day she looked at this newspaper clipping which said, World Tour. So she asked somebody what is, in sign language, what is World Tour? and she understood what world tour is. So now she has a mission, very clear in life, that now she is working. Both her children are studying, single mother. Tomorrow they will have to take her, and three of them, along with her mother, uh, will go on
World
a world tour. And like that, there are so many incredible examples. And I think every one of those people who are working at Mitti Cafe are not beneficiaries. I think that's the most degraded thing that you can do, by saying that they are benefiting through us. No, they are absolutely important, equal stakeholders in this. Today I think I'm the most useless person at Mitti. I do all these fun things. Whereas our real heroes, imagine, like, they've been able to serve over 20 million times, that is over 2 crore times. They've had the opportunity to create awareness about inclusion with every meal or beverage that they serve. That is a bahana. The main thing is, this, and that's all done by our change makers in the forefront. So I think sympathy is something that we should just throw out. And empathy, whether it is for a person with disability, whether it is for somebody who's been abandoned by their children after years of taking care, whether it is for someone living in a tribal area, whether it is for someone who's a single woman, an acid attack survivor, I think it is for everyone. It cannot be selective. And empathy is something that is the inward, and believing that people are equal stakeholders is the way to go forward.
Absolutely, well said. Do you see a difference between how disability is perceived in India and how it is perceived in other countries like US, Europe? And do you believe that people in India who have these disabilities suffer the same type of discrimination in employment and in everyday life like in other countries? What are your thoughts?
Infrastructurally, there are countries which are better than us, and we are getting there. And there are wonderful initiatives, across the country. Some of them which my friends are also doing, whether it is their mission to make our country accessible, or changing perceptions like we're doing at Mitti Cafe. I think people have started recognizing that there is a problem, which is a very important thing, right? I mean, earlier, this wasn't even a problem. If you even do a basic survey, a person with disability will ever work or can ever work. Forget about, contributing to the economy, contributing to the country. I think that mindset doesn't exist, and that has to exist. And because honestly, we've seen in multiple, like recently, our country, the blind women's cricket team, they got us the World Cup. The amount of hard work, can you imagine, like with visual impairment, they tracking the ball, the kind of concentration, they've put in their heart and soul into this, and they've proved this magic. And like them, and nobody knew about them before the World Cup. Even while they were playing matches, which is like a fantastic thing. But imagine these young girls, and one of them said that she would, because along with disability, a lot of times what happens is that because of inaccessible infrastructure, you don't get to or inaccessible attitudes, you don't get education, poverty, so you enter into that cycle. And the captain actually mentioned that she would scourge for food that from the waste that others would throw, so that the family could feed themselves. It was so painful to hear, but that is the reality of so many people in our country. And I think realizing and acknowledging that is the first step. Learning from the best practices that other countries have is also very important. But I'd want to mention that even in our country, there are leaders with disabilities. There are leaders who are working towards disability inclusion, who are doing phenomenal work. And it just has to be replicated. The right kind of resources have to be provided so that these initiatives scale, and the country will change for what it should be. And as I always say, that accessibility, inclusion is not a privilege. It is every individual's birthright. One just needs to, I think, as individuals in this community and collectively, we need to believe in that and contribute our bit towards it.
How are things going today? How did grit and resilience lead to your eventful success at Mitti Cafe?
See, I've always, and as I mentioned in the very beginning, that a couple of things have worked out very well for me.
Yeah.
One is that I have never glorified the idea. Like, it can be the simplest of things, and it could bring about a huge impact. And Mitti, what is it? It's a cafe run by wonderful adults with disabilities, generating livelihoods, more importantly, creating awareness, which is the key. And for us as a team, it's always been about implementation and implementation alone. 99% implementation, 1% the idea for success. Second, rhino skin, very, very important in your journey, because while I started, I was rejected at every incubation center across the country, Mitti as an idea. But yeah, today,
And today,
today, I think because the heart really superseded the head a lot of times, that's why we are where we are. Also, the power of the community. I cannot emphasize. I think that is the key. There is enough and more compassion and courage that exists within people. One just needs to tap that to grow exponentially. The ownership of your team. So today, if you walk into a Mitti Cafe, I don't think anybody would say that, oh, who's the owner, and they'll take my name. It's ingrained
they
into
own
them that
both.
they own it,
Yeah.
because they do. Just imagine if, someone, like one of them is not, the Mitti Cafe would not be the same. So I think that participatory approach to development, and knowing that, we always get into diagnosis mode. That, if it is a village, or if it is a area, a slum area, or if it is a particular community, whether, it is single women, whether it is acid attack survivors, whether it is persons with disabilities, whether it's children. So this would be the problem. But ask them. I think people are capable they know what their problem is, and they are capable enough to devise their own solutions and be a part of the solution. That's the only way
And
an
that's-
idea can be sustainable.
And that's like a first thing of a successful leader, I think. I mean, you really, really nailed it, I think.
A participatory approach is the key, and I think that's what happens so when people ask us that how have you been able to scale, and I just say that, dude, like, it's only because of the people on the field, and and the community at large. So when we say Mitti Cafe magic of abilities, it's not just our team members with disabilities. No, it's every person who walks into a Mitti Cafe who can bring about a difference.
Wonderful. And what is your favorite dish from Mitti Cafe? Is it coffee, something else? What do you
I love
prefer?
everything from Mitti Cafe, but the kullad chai,
Yeah.
I think that's incredible. And even the kullars are made by our team members with disabilities.
And that's a very Calcutta thing also.
It is. And it actually comes from Calcutta. Like, we get lakhs of them from Calcutta and made with a lot of love by our team.
Okay.
And again, very, very special for me. But sab kuch acha hai. You can try everything.
Also,
So it's made with a lot of love.
absolutely, absolutely. I can feel it. So can you share a story about the funniest mistake you made when you were first starting, and what lesson you learned from that?
So usually when, and I think this is a thing with every entrepreneur, they're always on the sales mode.
Yeah.
Pitch mode.
Yeah.
You just have to show the good side.
Yeah.
And of course, piche there's like a lot that's happening, right? It's just a lot of challenges. So I think I have learned to be vulnerable the hard way. Initially it was this, shield, and in a way, even to shield others. This protective, I don't know, I don't know whether it was me, but I've seen it with a lot of other entrepreneurs also, that, they have this protective layer, with which they don't want to let other people know the difficult side. And they want to even protect others. But what I've learned is that be vulnerable. You'll get a lot of help. You'll get people to become solution oriented, problem solvers. And in my journey, I've learned it, the hard way initially and I'll tell you, when COVID happened, all our cafes shut down. 13 cafes, all within corporates, and all in like hibernation because of COVID. And we could raise some money and we could send some, about some money back. And at that point of time, I remember we did a fundraiser on Milap, and right from 20 rupees to lakhs is what the community supported us with. I still remember that one note that somebody wrote on that Milap page saying that I've lost my job, but this is what I can do, and I will try to do more. And it just stuck so much with me. And, again, with COVID happening and all our cafes shutting down, So mentally, I was like, oh, like, I have to go on to savior mode. That there are so many people with disabilities out there, who've been working with Mitti Cafe, and they are, at least some support has to be given to them. And it was easy, like, to get that support was easy. We sent money, we could raise money, we sent it back to their accounts. But you see, our problem started then. We started getting calls and calls and calls saying that we don't want money sitting at home. We want to come back out there and earn with dignity. And that's when we could pivot, because the community, for us, it was our team.
Yeah. Who
Who
coming
actually
forward?
they
Yeah.
came forward. And Karuna means happened during COVID because of Hemant, this boy with cerebral
Yeah,
palsy and
I'm
autism.
telling.
We started, so corporate cafes band. We started Mitti Cafes beyond corporates. So today we are at corporates, colleges, hospitals, airports, Rashtrapati Bhavan, Supreme Court, High Courts, everywhere, is because our cafe shut down then. And it is because people had, like, the ideas, the push
Yeah.
was from the people. And I think it
Wonderful.
was then that I
Mm.
became a lot more vulnerable than I was before that. And I wish I would have been like that much earlier.
No, but you're doing well. Don't think about it that way. So also, can you share a few ideas or stories from your experience about how to successfully ride the emotional highs and lows of being a founder?
Couple of things that have kind of helped me. So while it is important to be thick-skinned in this journey, because it's going to be a lonely journey in the beginning, and your journey would get you a lot of amazing people who join you eventually, but initially akela hoga. And it's okay. So I think to remember that, and not to fear that loneliness or that scarcity, because that will bring out the predator, the best in you.
I was just gonna say
It
that.
will,
When you're hungry,
you would, yeah, I mean, you will do anything.
yeah.
So I think that, as I mentioned, that led to desperation, leech-like attitude, shamelessness. I went from door to door house. So all the best assets developed when I had nothing, and you have nothing to lose, right? Also, if you have confidence, very good. But if you're like me, I'm naturally low on confidence. Like, a lot of people would find it difficult to wrap their heads around this, but I am naturally low on confidence. And for people like me, like even today, if there's something new, I'm like, abhi kya hoga, what next? And which is fine. So for people like me, and a lot of people will not tell you this, but I think I've learned it in my journey, that even if you are low on confidence, self-confidence utna nahi hai or nahi hai, but if you put in your 100%, tie your camel, given your everything, and if you have 100% faith, you will still make it. I think that magic formula has always worked.
Never give up.
And never give up. And I think also, I remember first day of Mitti Cafe when we started, nobody came. So literally no one came. Huh? So we waited for, we had, like, there were 3 people in the team, me and 2 others who I hired, 2 other lovely people, Kirti and one more person. And nobody came. Then we waited for an entire day, for hours. We waited, and then somebody came to buy, like, some samosas, so 100 rupees ho gaya tha in the cash box. And what was painful for me was not that, we didn't generate revenue that day, but the fact that 2 of our people, they were sitting there with hope.
Yeah.
And I remember putting in 500 rupees. I just sneakily, just put it, and I called my mother up and I said that, like, kichu hoi nahi, like, like, nobody came. And she told me one thing, and I think she's the one who's got me close to faith. She said that, hold on. He says that after every hardship comes ease. And it actually works. We didn't give up the first day, second day, third day. Today, like, cafes do even 2 lakh revenue a day per day, and this is completely run by incredible adults with disabilities, and versus 100 rupees that we did on the first day. But it's about just hold on, be ziddi, be leech-like. Remember that bad times will not last, but you'll have to hold on, like, and that always works.
Gosh, you're a true inspiration. I wish people have your attitude, all of them. Some of the most prominent global leaders, President Draupadi Murmu and Justice Chandrachud, and even the Chancellor of Germany have visited Mitti Cafe. What was your interaction, and was there anything that you remember about those?
So I was, I think, 9 months pregnant when we received a call from the German consulate that we'll have the federal chancellor coming in. So much to our ignorance, we thought that federal chancellor is some very important person in the consulate, and he or she will be coming in, and he was so happy and elated that it's just such a great opportunity for us. And then, and I was in Bombay, so 9 months pregnant, so flights wouldn't allow me to fly down. And Swati was here, like my co-director, and of course the wonderful team was here. And I said that we'll manage this well. And the next day we see that traffic is shut outside India Coffee House. And so Mitti Cafe is also present inside ICH. We do specialty coffee that's done by a team, wonderful baristas who have disabilities. And we see India Coffee House also shut down. And then we see the commissioner of police coming in, and then we're like, okay. And we Googled and we realized that he is Olaf Scholz, like the federal chancellor of Germany. And so it was quite funny that, again, in our ignorance, but, the team was really happy to meet him, and the amount of awareness that we could create, that was also incredible. Then we also have Mitti Cafe inside the Supreme Court of India, and like everywhere that we are, there is someone from the community that's seen this and who've believed. Like when we are at the Bangalore International Airport, incredible organization. I don't think any other organization in the world that we've seen is actually so so amazing. So while they one of the most expensive airports in the country, and they are very proud about that's their strategy, but they're the most philanthropic with us. So, and Hari Marar, again, great leader. So we've had one of the best leaders really coming in, or Jeet Adani from the Adani airports, and we were told that he's going to come for 5 minutes for the inauguration, and he stayed for 3 hours interacting with our team. Fast forward, we had the Hingorani Foundation, again, lovely people. They said that, why don't you start inside the Supreme Court of India? And we said, why not? I mean, it's going to be such a great opportunity. And yes, we had Justice Chandrachud inaugurating Mitti Cafe and the Supreme Court of India on his birthday. And incredible awareness that we could really create. And I remember Swami Gowda. So he's one of our candidates. It's such a lovely picture. You can find it on the internet, where he is holding on to Justice Chandrachud's hand, and he's getting him, to their cafe at the Supreme Court. And we actually added, like, Mitti cafes are very colorful because a lot of the decor is also done by our team members with disabilities. In fact, Justice Chandrachud's wife, Kalpana ma'am, lovely. In fact, I mean, both of them, they don't just speak about inclusion, they live it every day. Like, they have 2 lovely daughters, Priyanka and Mahi, and they also have disabilities. In fact, Kalpana ma'am had invited us to their house, our entire team, after our inauguration at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and we got to, meet them and speak about economic independence, dignity, the various things that the country, in fact, the things that we dream of, as a country, as an inclusive country. And again, very, very down-to-earth folks, very lovely, lovely people. So 3 days prior to the inauguration, the president's security, because she's the Honorable President of India, they briefed us, and they kept briefing us that, these are the, don'ts. Like, when you're around the president, like, don't be too, out there, and, just maintain your composure and your stand at ease. But I'm just joking. But yeah, like, it was also the president's birthday when she inaugurated Mitti Cafe, interestingly. And I was also surprised. I also didn't know that our team members with intellectual disabilities and their mothers, they had made this beautiful 2-decor cake.
Wow.
And thankfully, I didn't know, because if I would have known earlier, I would have informed the security. The security would have said no.
Yeah.
This happened. So when, like, after I took the Honorable President, and she was so warm and, like, one of the most incredible leaders who really cares about people, very compassionate. So we took her in, we showed Mitti Cafe. When we came out, we saw that there was this cake. I was like, oh no, like I think the security is going to be so upset. But I said, I also didn't know. So I don't know whether I should be guilty. And we actually thought the president is going to then go. Like, I don't think she's going to go and like cut the cake because, it is a security concern. So she went, she cut the cake, she asked for 40 spoons, she fed every one of our team members with her own hands, and her security, but she's our president, and
That is so good.
she's one of the most amazing leaders that I have come across. And she's inaugurated another cafe at of ours at Rashtrapati Nilayam, which is her winter retreat, where she has a winter retreat. When she came in, so we were all standing there for like a photo op. And here we see the President of India coming with chocolates to give to each one of our team members. And we were just mesmerized by her kindness. And, I think she's gone through so much in life, and she's an inspiration to all of us. We also recently had the Prime Minister of India coming into Mitti Cafe. And he's amazing. It was again the Navi Mumbai Airport inauguration. As I mentioned, Jeet is again an incredible leader that one must watch out for, because he cares about disability inclusion. And from the day he saw us, like honestly, like we chased him for like a year before we got our first cafe. But after that, after the impact that he visibly saw, the 3 hours that he spent on the inauguration versus the 5 minutes that he was supposed to spend, like, I think it's been a different relationship. He actually called our team members for his wedding. And, all of us, they came with the card, and our entire team actually, went, and we had a gala time, like our team members at his wedding. So they wanted, Mitti to be showcased, because like all Adani airports would be having a Mitti Cafe. And that's when the Prime Minister, again, Navi Mumbai Airport, he was supposed to inaugurate. And Mitti Cafe was one of the events that was to happen. And the Prime Minister did come. And when he came, of course, all of us were, our entire team that was standing there, we were really looking forward to meeting our Prime Minister. But I think 2 things that stuck with me. So he spent a lot of time there. And one of our team members, Praveen, he's wheelchair able. He's got paraplegia. So the Prime Minister actually patted him on his back and, was speaking to him and all of that. And later Praveen called me up and he said that, ma'am, pata hai kya hua? Batao. He's like, so this was all over the national television. It was live, when the Prime Minister's walked through, and even when he came to Mitti Cafe. So Praveen tells me that when he went back to his neighbor, his house, the entire neighborhood came to, pick him up from a wheelchair and, garland him and all of that. And listen to this. It's the same boy. So his wife, Archana, she's a burn survivor, wonderful lady. And, they're married. And Archana mentioned to me, Praveen, he's the same boy who would never go to his child's parents-teacher meeting, because he would feel embarrassed that his, the school would see that, his father is, Arav's father is on wheelchair. And once he had actually, when Arav was small, his son, he had actually taken him on very proudly on his electric wheelchair to school. And apparently, children made fun of Arav when he came to know this. And since then, he decided he would not go. So once this happened, after a few days, and I interacted with Archana, and I was like, Archana, wo school, because I mentioned to her that, you must counsel her, and the most important person to do this is the son, right? To see how proud he is, which he is, of his father. But, it's often important to be explicit about, how much you love a person, how proud you are. And, Archana said that he started going back to his son's school, which was such an achievement. And apparently his Praveen's friends saw his picture with the Prime Minister and the Defense Minister. So the Defense Minister had also inaugurated our cafe at the Lucknow airport. Another example was of Shruti. So Shruti has autism and she's non-verbal. And it took her mother years to make her say. So if I ask her that तुम्हारा नाम क्या है, what is your name, she'll say Shruti, but it will take her a lot of time. So the Prime Minister, he came and he's like, क्या है आपका नाम? And it took her 30 seconds to say Shruti. We all waited for 30 seconds, including the Prime Minister. And the mother, Shruti's mother, called me and she said that nobody from their neighbors or their relatives would ever invite them because they would feel embarrassed. Nobody would talk to her. Nobody would even initiate to communicate with her. And आज Prime Minister ने बात किया. So I think these examples are very, very important when leaders absolutely endorse, embrace, showcase what everyone should do. And for us at Mitti Cafe, of course, it's the leaders and it's incredible, great. But it is the community that are equal leaders who come in every day and can change perceptions, make our team members' day, and just make a friend with disability. Refer just one person for that one opportunity, and you all are all change makers.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, how do you get time to speak to so many of your, community members? Because you're a mother, I'm sure you have busy work and this thing also.
I love doing. I think if you love something, I do it for myself. Like, it's not about doing it for anyone. I think that's what I live. The stories that I've been fortunate to be a part of, or I have seen these living stories, I think like many other entrepreneurs, it just makes you more and more hungry. Can't you?
I think
I
the
don't know.
joy is unexplained, right?
And you can't ever give up. I think that's the best thing about what we do. And I think ecosystem is really important. Like, when I started my journey, and like many other women entrepreneurs, I'm sure like they've also faced this, like, where I went to people asking for support and they were like, oh, right now you're just out of college, all energetic, hunky-dory, jumpy. What when you get married? What when you have a child? What will happen to our money? And I didn't have an answer to them then, but I have an answer to them now. Because I have 2 children and I have an incredible husband, Sadik, that I think after getting married to the right person, and having 2 lovely children, I think I've become so much stronger in every aspect of life, and even so much stronger as an entrepreneur. We've only been able to scale. So I was 8 months pregnant when so there was an invitation from the United Nations for one of their events at Morocco, which was like a 36-hour journey from here to Morocco. And we went to the doctor for Fit to Fly, and the doctor was like, "Acha deti hu," and she wrote of not fit to fly. And I was so sad, and my husband and I, we went back home, and for long, I was like not myself, and he realized that the implicit, and he's like, "Alina, you want to go?" I think, and then yes, like, go. Like, don't tell my parents, don't tell your parents, we will manage it. Not once did that man say that if you go, it's your work, your responsibility. He's like, we'll do this together. And that has been such a incredible push, and just wish every person has a husband like Sadik, and an ecosystem. Like today, Mitti is the larger family that I have. So just makes it much easier.
And what is your suggestion or tips for families of children with disabilities who want to get their kids ready for employment?
The families, the parents, the mothers of persons with disabilities, they are incredible. They do not need any tips. They've believed, they've nurtured, they've loved their children. And what we are doing at Mitti is just like a dot compared to what they do. And I think God just gives them that strength. Like, it's incredible, it's immense. My only bit would be that sometimes and a lot of times life might be very difficult, but let no one else dictate what your child is. You know it very well. You know their strengths. And we have so many examples. It's, our Bhairapats, our Shrutis, our Prachis, our Kirtis, to, really, our Hemants, to really prove that. And your child is equally special. And everyone, including your child, has the potential to do incredible things. And don't let the world define for you what incredible is. Even if it is putting that sticker, even if it is that namaste, even if it is saying, their name after years of struggle, great. And just, I think, cherish that. Congratulate yourself for being so amazing, because you all have been. I think that's all.
So also you're a person of great influence. If you could start a movement that would bring the most amount of good to the most amount of people, what would that be besides Mitti Cafe?
I think Mitti Cafe, while we predominantly work with persons with disabilities, but the idea is to make people believe that compassion and courage are two weapons that can eradicate any problem that our world faces today.
Yeah.
Any. You just name it, and this is the solution. And it's just about making people believe in the magic in their abilities to bring about a difference. And everyone can do that for at least one Kirti. Just for that one Bhairappa. Just for that one person, who would otherwise not see hope but for you. And, and usually when we talk about change now, we say that, poverty in millions, billions, hunger in millions, homelessness in millions, discrimination in millions, violence in millions. And what difference will it make if I do anything? And I had, initially I had this question, and this was answered to me by this little girl. She must have been 7 or 8 years then. She heard this story in her school, and she told me this, my little friend. So there was a high tide, and there were millions of starfishes dying on the seashore. And there was a young girl picking up one starfish, throwing it into the water, the other starfish throwing it into the water, and a wise man, in inverted commas, comes and asks a young girl, what are you doing? So she continues to do what she's doing. This time, he asks her more assertively, what are you doing? What difference does it make? The shore is full of millions of dying starfishes, and here you are, picking up one, throwing it into the water. Is this some kind of a game? What difference does it make? He reiterated that. What she did has changed my perception about change. And I was listening to that story intently. Kya kiya usne? And so what she said is that she took one starfish, she threw it into the water, and she tells the wise man, and the wise man is the larger community in a lot of ways, tells the wise man that it made a difference to that one. So for me, my first starfish was Kirti, and every day it is the hunger to reach out to the billions starfish across the world for whom economic independence and dignity is not yet a reality. And we all, as I mentioned, remove social work, replace it with social duty. It is an udhar that we have towards the society. Our life will go towards repaying it, but that's life. And as one of my favorite poets says, and I'll tell you what that means to me. He says, मेरे सीने में नहीं तो तेरे सीने में सही हो कहीं भी आग लेकिन आग जलनी चाहिए, which means we'll all die someday. But irrespective of whether we live or die, that ignition has to continue in someone's heart. Do that one bit for that one person. Inspire just that one more person to join wagon, and the world will change for what it should be. And the magic to do that lies in each one. And that's what we innately believe at Mitti Cafe.
Thank you, Alina.
Thank you.
I don't know. I mean, I'm speechless actually. I mean, I wish each and every person has your goodness and energy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alina Alam reminds us that inclusion isn't charity, it's humanity. That ability is not defined by limitation, and that every human being deserves dignity, respect, and an opportunity to shine. Thank you for tuning in to the Expressions podcast. Until next time, stay inspired, stay kind, and keep amplifying the stories that matter.